Hello, everyone. It's Mrs. Johnson, one of the assistant principals at the junior high. Typically, at the start of the school year, Mr. Hurley, Mrs. Green, and I do small group handbook chats to give you the highlights of what's expected at the junior high. However, due to our cohort models and trying to keep everyone safe, it's just going to be through the Screencastify. You'll just need to listen for the next 15, 20 minutes or so as we chat about what's expected of you here. Your teachers are going to give you a link to the handbook so you can read it in its entirety, or you can simply look at our junior high website page and it's available for you there as well. So the first thing that we always start our meetings with is our mission and vision statements. The junior high prepares our students of today for the world of tomorrow. Our school community provides an environment in which all students will learn to their full potential intellectually, emotionally, socially, physically, and for lifelong learning. And our vision statement, what we want for you guys before you head off to the high school, is that you are organized, responsible, respectful, and proficient. So here's our link again, and it is your responsibility to read it in its entirety. So make sure that you understand that today is just an overview, and if you have further questions, you can look at the handbook to be sure of things. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our grading policies. We grade based off of formative and interim assessments here, 6th through 8th grade. Your formative assessments are your checks for understanding that your teacher is going to be doing in the classroom. It could be exit pass, it could be a Padlet, daily homework, it could be your journals that you're in and your classroom practice. So this is just kind of like a temperature check. Like, where are you at? Are you getting maybe a thumbs up or a thumbs down type of thing with your teacher? Interim assessments are where the teacher is actually going to take a grade because you're at a point in your instruction that you should be mastering the skills, being able to build on to what you already know, and also being able to show your teacher that you understand that. So examples of interim assessments would be weekly quizzes and tests, projects that are due that are a little bit more expansive than just a one-day thing, homework that's been practiced, your papers and your essays. So these are the portions of your grade that are called interim. And like I said before, the other part of it is formative assessments. So for each quarter, your quarter grade will be weighted 80% for interim assessments and 20% for formative assessments. Grades do matter now that we're back in school. I know in the spring it was more of like a pass fail. We wanted to make sure that you guys were staying busy and engaged, but this year grades are going to count just as they always have. A part of your grade is your GPA. GPA stands for your grade point average, and it's the calculation of your grades after they have been converted to a point scale. So when this becomes important is when you are dealing with sports or school organizations. So your GPA does matter, and you want to be doing your best so that way you can participate in things that are happening here at the school. This is especially important for 7th and 8th graders in 6th grade at the end of the year. Your GPA will determine if you're eligible for sports or school organizations. Your GPA will help you to be able to get into NJHS, which is our National Junior Honor Society, and 6th graders at the end of the school year through 8th grade are eligible for NJHS each year. GPA must also be a 2.0 or higher in order to be in good standing for sports. Obviously, for National and Junior Honor Society, it's a little higher than that. However, we do look at GPA when we're considering students for advanced classes, for student council, for other opportunities that would be in addition to what they're already receiving in their classroom. So make sure, students, that you're always doing your best and that you're always trying really hard with your studies. The dress code at BJHS is pretty similar to the high school, but there are some differences. So maybe you have a sibling over at the high school, but you want to make sure that you read through our dress code on your own and with your family so that you all have a good understanding of what it says. So our Dress for Success policy is designed to ensure an appropriate and respectful appearance in a safe educational environment. So be sure to read through these carefully and ask any questions you may have when you see me in the building or email me those questions. I've had students come up and check with me before they start school to make sure what they have is appropriate if you're just uncertain at home. I have had students, after they've had a shopping spree, email me pictures of a shirt or a top maybe that they got while they were out just to make sure it was appropriate. So all of those things are acceptable. Absolutely. So your dress do's and don'ts. Make sure you read over the dress code so you understand what is expected. Be making good choices before coming to school. Don't wear something that's making you feel uncomfortable before you leave your house, because sometimes what we wear on the weekend is not what we should be wearing to school. There's just certain times and opportunities for certain outfits, and we need to be aware of it, that school may not be the best place for everything. So, here in general, students need to be covered from shoulder to mid thigh at the junior high, from shoulder to mid thigh. You cannot wear clothing that promotes alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs or illegal substances or activities. No violence, nothing that's vulgar, provocative, or has a double meaning. Undergarments should not be visible. Skirts and shorts must be mid thigh or approximately lower than the palm of your hand. So if you put your hands straight down and your shorts are hitting past your palm, not at your wrist, but past your palm where your fingers start, then those are probably going to be long enough. We have students who range from only being 4'10", 4'11" at the junior high to being over 6 feet tall. So we know that sometimes um, finding a really great length or a long pair of shorts is just not possible for everyone. So we do give you a little bit of leeway for that, but they need to be mid-thigh or they need to be past the palm of your hand. Nothing low cut or revealing, nothing that shows your back or your belly at school. You need to make sure that your shirts have straps on them that are 2 fingertip lengths or wider. Nothing strapless, nothing that ties behind the neck, nothing that's see-through unless you have something under it that covers everything else. And while ripped jeans that have skin showing are permitted at the high school, they are not permitted at the junior high. So we do allow pants that have some tears or frays, but your pants cannot show skin through those holes and they cannot be overly tattered. So you want to make sure that, again, that would be an example of something that's good for the weekend, but maybe not for school. You need to make sure that your clothing is safe for the environment that we have here. We don't allow coats to be worn, hats, hoods are not pulled up over the head when you're walking down the hallway. That's especially important right now. We need to be able to identify students for the majority of those reasons, and especially now because we have to wear our masks. We want to make sure that we know who you are when you're coming towards us. Your clothing choices should be clean. We don't allow PJ pants, no slippers. Make sure that you're wearing sensible clothes for the school day. And then our cell phone use. We have some pretty strict rules at the junior high for cell phone use. Cell phones at school are only allowed before the bell in the morning and after the last bell. Smartwatches are also not to be used in the classroom and will be taken away as well if they're in use. While classes are in session, cell phones are off, and during this phase of that we're in right now of our back to school plan, they need to be in your backpacks. We obviously don't have lockers to put them in, so they need to be in your backpacks, not in your pockets where they can be a distraction with notifications going off. Cell phones will be confiscated and held by the classroom teacher until the end of the day. You will not be able to just keep on hanging on to it if you're not able to control yourself with it. And repeat offenders will meet with administration and parents regarding cell phone use, and we may just have to tell your parent that you can't bring it to school or that you have to drop it off with one of us in the morning if it's something that you can't handle. So just be really responsible with your cell phones, your smartwatches, your tablets, things like that. So obviously we want you guys to be practicing safe behavior that's healthy for your mind and for your body. So to start with that, we are a drug-free, vape-free, tobacco-free, and alcohol-free school. And that seems like it makes a lot of sense, right? And it seems pretty cut and dry, but some of it isn't. So let's talk about the things that students sometimes get confused about. First of all, drug-free means that students are not carrying any sort of drug on them at all, including prescription or over-the-counter medication. You can't carry any kind of medication on your own unless you have a doctor's note for an EpiPen or you have a doctor's note for an inhaler, because obviously those are life-saving immediate measures that we would be taking. So students are not allowed to bring over-the-counter, prescription, or illegal drugs into the building at any time. If you are a student who takes a medication during the school day and needs to have it at school, a parent has to bring it into the building with a doctor's note. A student may not bring in medication, even if it is accompanied by a doctor's note. If you happen to be getting a headache at school and you don't necessarily want to leave for the day, but you would like some relief from that headache that's kind of building, your parent can come in and give you that medication. That's no issue. They can administer that to you here at the junior high. However, if it's something that is over the counter, but you are expected to take it, let's say you got braces put on and the doctor prescribes you to take Tylenol for pain every once in a while, that Tylenol would need to be brought into the school by a parent and dropped off in our health room. So that's just another example of how this can be just a little bit confusing. But obviously, anything that's illegal is never allowed at school. It's not to be used, sold, or distributed. And the other important thing to remember about this is you're not allowed to pretend, even joking around, that you have drugs on you. You need to make sure that you're not pretending that Tic Tacs are drugs and passing them out. The person next to you who may overhear your conversation may begin to feel uncomfortable and unsafe, and that's not what we want for any student. So we want to make sure that we're not being funny and then realizing later that this could have some serious consequences. We are also vape free. No one under the age of 21 can possess a vape or the products associated with them. So you are not allowed to possess them, have them, or anything like that at school. You are not allowed to have alcohol at school. You are not allowed to have tobacco products at school. Everything that we talked about with those three categories, you have to be 21 in order to have. So if you're not 21, which none of you are, you can't have them. When we talk about that, if you do have them at school, you have consequences, obviously, for these. And they extend past just getting in trouble at school and getting in trouble with your parents. So for any of these substances, 3 to 10 days suspension with the possibility of expulsion. You would be meeting with the liaison officer also with your parents, or your parents will be contacted by him, and you'll be ticketed for having those items. You will also be required to enroll and complete a substance awareness course that is offered by our ISD. So we do not want to have to deal with this. We rarely have issues like this at the junior high, but I want you guys to know right now that there are serious consequences if you choose to bring anything to school that you should not have. We are also weapons free at the junior high, and you're not allowed to bring them into school for any reason. Guns, knives, brass knuckles, pocket or wallet chains, look-alike weapons, any object that's used to threaten or hurt another student or staff. So obviously, this is not the whole list of things that are weapons. However, if you use something that's a typical school item as a weapon, then you can also get in trouble the same as though you had a weapon. So if you are walking down the hallway and somebody smashes the kid walking with you with a book across the head, that would also be considered a weapon at that point. So we want to be really careful that we're keeping ourselves in check and that we're being responsible with the things that we have and the things that we bring to school. Because again, this would be a 3 to 10 day suspension with the possibility of expulsion and possible charges from the liaison officer or from the family. A family could also, if you were hurting someone, would also be able to file assault charges. So just be aware of that and be always keeping your hands to yourself and making good choices for what you bring to school. So before we move on to this one, I just want to address that we understand sometimes things happen and things end up in your pockets or in your backpacks you did not intend to bring to school. So, for example, your older brother or sister who's maybe an adult now borrows your jacket, and when you get to school, you realize that there's a lighter in your pocket. Or you went camping for the weekend and took your backpack. And when you get to school, you realize that you still have your pocket knife in your backpack. In those circumstances, we don't want you just to hang on to those things and leave them in your locker with your things, especially now in our cohort model, because our things are going into our classrooms. And anyone could get into your bag. So you guys, there's a difference between brandishing something and making a mistake. If you realize when you get to school you brought something that you should not have, you can ask your teacher to come down to see any of your principals or counselors. Turn that item over to us without showing other students. That's an important piece of this. And we will call home and tell your parents that you made a mistake and they just need to pick up said item for it to be released. Obviously, we wouldn't be giving it back to you at the end of the school day. The brandishing part, though, is the important part. If you realize, oh, shoot, I left my pocket knife in my bag, and you show it to 10 friends joking around before you get to school, then, or before you come to the office with it, then that's where we're going to have issues. And that's where we're going to have to deal with it as though you actually brought something purposely to school. So very maturely and responsibly bring down that item to the office and we'll help you deal with it. So this kind of leads into student behavior expectations. And when we meet in small groups, we always tell students that 95% of the time, everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing at school. The reason why we have a handbook is for that maybe 10% of the time where mistakes are made or choices are made that are not appropriate. So in order to know what we expect out of you, what should you be doing while you're here at school? You need to be kind and respectful to all. You need to obey reasonable requests from adults. You need to think things through and make a good choice and always do your best. If you are caught fighting at school, and fighting could be pushing, shoving, hitting, or kicking towards another student or staff member, that's considered fighting or involving yourself into a fight or some kind of disgruntled behavior. And we often, when students get to the office, hear, well, I was just joking around and I was kind of hitting him or I was kind of poking her, those types of things. We don't take the words just joking around lightly, because at the junior high, you guys are getting mature enough to recognize that the impact you have on someone else sometimes outweighs and is more important than your intention to begin with. So if in your head you are going to go over and start wrestling with your buddy in class and he doesn't like it and he reacts badly to it, you're going to get in trouble for fighting. It doesn't matter what your intention was. The fact that it upset that person and started a fight is what we're going to have to look at the junior high. So we always tell kids, keep your hands to yourself. People don't like to be embarrassed. People don't like to get manhandled at school. And kids can react differently. You guys all have a lot of hormones rushing through and can react impulsively to things. It's just part of being at the junior high. So we just want you to be respectful and careful around each other. For pushing all the way up to fighting, you could get a penalty haul up to 1 to 10 days suspension with the possibility of charges from the liaison officer. Same as with the weapons. If another family could charge you with assault, or we could charge you with disturbing the peace at the school. So again, just be kind and considerate to everyone and be respectful. Another thing that junior hires sometimes struggle with is plagiarism. Plagiarism is taking someone else's work as their own. Examples are in copying a friend's homework. Okay, you're not helping your friend out by just giving them the work that you did on your own and took your responsibility for. Both students in that case would have consequences. It could be taking an author's words and passing them off as your own. or summarizing someone else's words, but without proper citation. And something that you'll learn and you need to kind of focus on at the junior high is how to properly cite when you're using other people's words. And then virtual students during phase 4, I'm talking to you, my kids that are staying at home and doing your homework there and not coming to our school each day. You are held to the same standards as our face-to-face students when it comes to classroom behavior. During live class sessions, you're expected to be there on time without distractions going on, TV, your phone, and tablets. You need to be productive and have respectful behavior and responses in all activities and assignments. Being at home is not an opportunity at all for you to play jokes on students or teachers. This is an opportunity for you to show everyone that you're able to handle this in a mature and respectful manner towards everyone. I was joking around the other day, Mr. Hurley and Mrs. Green and I, we all have vehicles, so we can drive on over and check you out if you're not doing what you're supposed to. So just make sure you're working the way that you should be. Other things that we don't tolerate at the junior high are bullying or harassment in person or online. If we are being kind and respectful to everyone and thinking about our own actions, then we will all feel comfortable and safe here at school. And that is so important, you guys, to think about others and the impact your words have on them or your actions. Students are not allowed to talk badly about or to someone, whether you're here or online at home. No one is allowed to use verbal or forceful abuse to try to intimidate or degrade another student. Harassment kind of falls under a couple of different categories. No one is permitted to degrade another student because of their race, their gender, or who they choose to love. There's no room at our junior high for dirty jokes or comments. Racial jokes or comments are never appropriate in any circumstance, ladies and gentlemen. Joking around with your friends privately or saying them publicly, that's never something that is allowed at the junior high, and also as a life skill is not allowed in your workplace. There's just no room for it anymore in our society. So there's also no unwelcome touching of another student. You can't go around poking everybody in class. You can't, get too close to someone. You've got to respect their personal space. Some things that we do deal with because kids, again, think they're always joking around at the junior high. You are never, ever allowed, nor should you consider pantsing someone else in school. That's not acceptable. That could be a very embarrassing situation for the student who is having his or her pants pulled down in the hallway or in gym class or in a classroom or in the lunchroom. And we do not go around calling people things like gay or fag or anything like that. The best advice I can give you is when you're in school, you call people by their first names, and then you won't have any issue, right? Because there's no confusion. There's no having to read into tone or anything like that if you just call everyone by their given name. So on your Chromebooks, to help prevent cyberbullying or grossly inappropriate internet use, we have a system called Bark that's installed on all school devices. We also have a Para that's on during the school day. Bark picks up keywords and images of things that you should not be doing or looking at on your Chromebook. Hapara lets us see live what you're doing on your Chromebook, and that can be opened up at any time. We will call you down or call home, and you'll have to tell your parents what you've been doing on your Chromebook. So, and to avoid that embarrassing conversation, just be sure to always be doing your work on your Chromebooks. That's what that device was given to you for, and that's your responsibility. So, while you are at school, what should you be doing? Let's review. You should be kind and respectful to all. You should obey reasonable requests from adults, think things through, and make good choices. And you should always do your best. And if you are doing these things, ladies and gentlemen, there will not be any issues whatsoever. If you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me, or if you're at school, see me in the hallways. and I will be happy to answer the questions that you have. If you are at home, just know, ladies and gentlemen, that we miss you and we want to see you so soon. So hopefully we're all back together again. But until then, you guys just keep up the good work. We're all super proud of every single one of you.